Welcome to At Your Fingertips, an overview of technology for students with visual and multiple impairments. My name is Rachel Antonino. I started working at Perkins in 2009. I began my career as a teaching assistant and then spent many years as an assistant coordinator of residential living in our secondary residential program. I'm a licensed English and special education teacher and am completing the final stages of my TVI program at UMass Boston. I'm in my 4th year as a teacher in the lower school program. I teach students who are blind or have low vision, ranging from ages 8 to 12, and teach all subjects: English, math, social studies, science. And I particularly enjoy focusing on literacy and access to literacy, which explains some of my interest in assistive technology. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Samantha Ely and I have been at Perkins for about 5 years, where I began my career as an intern to complete my Teach with the Visually Impaired and Orientation and Mobility internship from Florida State University. After completing my internship on campus, I spent a few months as a teaching assistant until a teacher position opened up, where I am now an itinerant teacher of the visually impaired and mobility specialist for community programs, which means I work with students ages 3 to 22 in the public schools, and I serve as my program's assistive technology liaison. I'm going to give you a quick overview of our agenda for today. We are going to start with Rachel going over some common terminology and abbreviations that you will hear not only during our presentation, but throughout the week of presentations. We will then move on to look at different types of assistive technology and what they may be used for. We will cover technology for independence, communication, recreation, as well as some academic technology. From there, we will move into talking about assessments and what that means for your own child. After that, we'll get a quick little glimpse into Rachel's classroom and learn about one of her students and how he uses a variety of tools to access curriculum and recreation. We will then move on to talking about some examples of technology features you should look for based on your child's visual impairment, and then we will start to wrap things up.
Thank you, Sam. So as Sam mentioned, there are a wide range of abbreviations and acronyms in the special education world and the world of visual impairments, and we thought it might be helpful just to review or go over some of those abbreviations that you might encounter or maybe have encountered already. And this will be available in our handout along with the resource page. So a TVI or TSVI stands for Teacher for the Visually Impaired or Teacher of Students with Visual Impairment. O&M or COMS stands for Orientation and Mobility, which is an area of the expanded core curriculum, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And COMS is a Certified Orientation and Mobility Specialist. AT refers to Assistive Technology or Access Technology, which we'll discuss the differentiation between those two terms shortly. ECC stands for the Expanded Core Curriculum, which we will also discuss shortly. APH is the American Printing House for the Blind, which is an organization that provides material and devices for people who are blind or visually impaired. IDEA is the Individuals with Disability Education Act, which we will discuss a little further. The FBA or LMA stands for the Functional Vision Assessment and Learning Media Assessment, which we will go into more detail in a little bit. The IEP is the Individual Education Plan, and a 504 is another plan similar to IEP for providing accommodations for a student. So IDEA is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and it's a piece of legislation that ensures that students with a disability who are attending school will be provided with a free public education that's tailored to their individual needs. With regard to assistive technology, the IDEA states that any piece of equipment, technology is any piece of equipment or product system, whether acquired commercially, off the shelf, modified or customized, that is used to increase, maintain, or improve the functional capabilities of a child with a disability. The term does not include a medical device that is surgically implanted or the replacement of such device. And we'll discuss various types of assistive technology in this presentation. And I just wanted to point out the IDEA definition of technology, and it has a wide range from anywhere low tech, like a simple magnifier, to something high tech, like a specific piece of computer software. So the IEP and the ECC, I just wanted to take a little more time to talk more in depth about. The Individualized Education Plan. So this is a program that is developed to ensure that a student with a disability who's attending school receives specialized instruction and related service that's tailored to the needs of that student. And this relies very much on the whole team collaborating, including the teacher, family, related service provider, and the students themselves, to really make a plan that is going to set the student up to succeed in their education. A 504 plan is similar to an IEP, but just specifically specifies necessary accommodations, but it does not determine services. Moving on to the Expanded Core Curriculum, or ECC, this is a curriculum that was developed to address specific skills that require direct and specific instructions for students who are blind or visually impaired, because they are not exposed to incidental learning or learning through observation as a typical learner might be. So the 9 areas that have been identified as having a need for more direct instruction are assistive technology, career education, compensatory skills, independent living skills, orientation and mobility, recreation and leisure, self-determination, and sensory efficiency.
So this is just something I want everyone to think about as we not only go through our presentation, but also for future use. In the past year or so, I've been to a few conferences and presentations where there are vision assistive technology advocates that are really trying to adopt a new term for assistive technology, and they're trying to call it access technology. And I think this is a really wonderful way of looking at it, because it actually definitely puts a positive spin on it. And when we talk about vision-specific devices, and when I say that, I'm talking about things like CCTVs, binoculars, braille devices. It's not performing any actual assistance. You know, it's not calculating a math problem. The student does their own thinking. All this device is doing is increasing the access to the curriculum or to the game they're playing, so that they're on an equal playing field as everyone else in their classroom. I think the wording access technology is a broader term and better describes how it functions for so many of our students, and it's more inclusive. You know, and with inclusivity, we're also looking at empowering the user. And I think that's a huge thing about what we do here at Perkins. But just note that legally, it is still called assistive technology, and that may be the appropriate term for your child. But just something to think about is the wording access technology. So during today's presentation, you are going to hear us use assistive technology, access technology, and AT interchangeably. Just know we mean the same thing. Next, Rachel's going to give us a little or a big overview of all the different types of technology out there that our students use both on campus at Perkins, but also what many students use in the public schools.
Thank you, Sam. I really love your explanation of that term, access technology, and I agree, it does feel so empowering for the student to phrase it that way, and I just really appreciate that. Thank you. So as Sam said, I'm going to go over, I wouldn't say a small overview, but small compared to the world of technology of AT. Just some of the tech that is out there. We've categorized it first to go over some technology that's for independence, communication, and recreation. And we'll go over some academic-based technology. But I just want to point out that just because we are putting them in this category, AT is so fluid and can be used in so many different ways, and it really depends on the user and the individual needs in the given moment. None of this is set in stone as far as the category it's been placed in. So some technology for independence, communication, and recreation that you may have seen or might come across. Switches, an adaptive switch that allows our students with physical challenges to activate assistive technology devices in their environment. You might see a big red button that can activate some sort of technology. There's an example of the young man using a head switch that he can toggle between the different buttons. And we have many students in our program that use switches. A Joy player is the machine in the bottom of the screen. And this is a switch-activated music player, which is designed for folks with visual and multiple impairments, ages 3 and up, to enjoy listening to MP3s or WAV files, music or stories in a really user-friendly device. So next we have some more technology that might be categorized under independence, communication, and recreation. First is the talking tactile tablet, or TTT. And down in the lower left-hand corner, you can see this. It looks sort of, you see some hands with what looks like a drawing of a map. And this is completely tactile. Those lines are raised, there's different textures, and it's a paper overlay that goes over a device, which is paired with audio files. So if the user is to push or touch a certain part of the overlay, they're going to get audio feedback related to that overlay. The map may talk about a location or a landmark, and it can be used for educational or recreational activities. There's games like Chutes and Ladders and other interactive games that come in the overlays for that talking tactile tablet. And I know my students have really enjoyed using the TTT. An iPad or a tablet, which is just becoming more and more prevalent in the world of visual impairment and special education, can be used in a multitude of ways. And one way is communication. In the bottom center of the screen, you see a child scanning through images using communication software. And they can select an image and it will speak a statement based on what they select. Things like yes and no, or making choices about what they want to do or what they'd like to eat. And what's really great about this software is it can all be tailored for the individual student to really make a communication layout that's specific to that student. At the bottom right of the screen, you'll see the talking book player. I really enjoy this device. It's used for listening to books or audio files. I have many of my students that use this regularly to listen to their listening assignments for homework. It uses a cartridge and it's very user-friendly and has a nice long battery life and is fairly portable. These are available through Perkins and also the National Library Service. And this is just some great pictures of some of our own Perkins superstars using some of their technology. The young man on the left is using a big yellow switch and interacting with a schedule symbol and making choices about his schedule. And the young man on the right is playing an interactive cause and effect game using 2 switches. And you can see he's set up in a CVI station for students with cortical cerebral visual impairment. Moving on, a little bit of access, academic access technology, just some of the things that are out there. JAWS is a computer screen reading software that's available through APH, which does just that. It reads the text that is on the screen. It can describe images that are on the screen, and through a series of keyboard functions can help a user that does not have vision access a typical computer software program. Zoom text is another type of software for a low vision user that magnifies the screen. Besides just magnifying the screen, the user can adjust the contrast, mouse pointer display, a few other things as well, and it really just allows them to make the screen a comfortable size for viewing. And finally, Fusion, also available through APH, is just that. It is a fusion between JAWS and Zoom Text for a user that has low vision that needs to magnify things, but also benefits from that voiceover option. A little more academic technology. The Braille note taker in the lower right side of the screen, you can see someone's hands over a refreshable Braille display. So it changes what is written in the Braille based on what file they're in. And this is basically a Braille computer, a really great piece of technology. Several of my students have one and use it regularly, daily, hourly, more. They can access email, the internet, use it as a calculator, play games on it, and so much more. And it's a really great device. CCTV in the upper right is a device for enlarging physical print material. You can see a textbook under it. You could use a worksheet, anything that someone wanted to enlarge, they could put under the CCTV and look at it on the screen, enlarged, adjust the contrast, and make it really suited to their visual needs. And finally, the Perkins Brailler in the upper left, that blue looks like a typewriter, and basically it is a Braille typewriter, and it's a great way for a student to be able to just physically put in a piece of paper and Braille something that they want to Braille. It's efficient, and I have several in my classroom. A little bit more on academic technology. In the upper right, you'll see our Braille Buzz. It's that black and yellow toy. Looks like a bumblebee. And it is a toy. It's a Braille learning toy for our young emerging Braille learners to be able to interact with a fun device that has the 6 Braille dots that they can learn the alphabet, and it also has the letters of the alphabet down below. It talks back to them, and they can enjoy interacting with it and getting comfortable with learning Braille. A Victor Reader Stream in the upper left is another really user-friendly listening device that you can listen to music, audio files, stories. It's small, about the size of an iPhone, so very portable, and just another great device. All of my students have one of these, and I assign listening homework, and they're able to use it independently. Besides just for academic listening to books, they can also just enjoy their music or recreational reading. So as we talked about, there's so many uses for some of our devices. The iPad, as we mentioned before, has so many uses, and we're seeing this being used more and more. The accessibility features are really quite good on the iPad. You can have the voiceover feature. You can use it for magnifying something, for distance viewing. There's so many things that can be done with an iPad. So it is a really nice, versatile piece of access technology as well. Just a couple more, I promise, of some of our technology overview. Perkins Smart Brailler in the right-hand side of the screen looks a lot like that Perkins Brailler, that Braille typewriter. This Smart Brailler is a learning Brailler. It has a nice display screen. It also has a talking feature. It has games that can be played to help our younger, new Braille learners learn Braille in a really fun, interactive way. And finally, at the bottom of the screen, you'll see a light box available through APH, and many of these devices are. And this is a tool that is designed for our students with cortical cerebral visual impairment. And you can see there's a variety of items that go with it. And this provides backlighting, which is ideal for some students with CVI to help present a variety of materials. And it's great for accessing literacy. And so that's just a short overview. And I just wanted to reiterate that these are, again, just some examples of the absolutely huge variety of access technology that's out there, and more is being developed all the time. And I just want to note that there can, again, be a lot of crossover between these devices. A student may use a switch one moment for learning, and then later use it to listen to their favorite music. So these categories are really in no way set in stone, and technology can be so fluid in how it's utilized, and it really has to do with the user and the individual in any given moment. So yeah, a couple more of our Perkins superstars. I love seeing their pictures. The young man in the picture on the left is actually using a Braille keyboard, which wasn't in my technology overview, but he's accessing a typical computer using a Braille keyboard. And then the young man on the right is working very hard learning, practicing his Braille on the Perkins Smart Brailler, which we just talked about.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing Rachel said was this crossover that happens between devices. Even though we labeled them kind of academic and independence and communication, we probably should have, like it's all just one area of technology. So just know that things can be used in a variety of ways. So now that we know a bunch of different technology devices and how they can be used in a variety of settings, let's talk about assessments. how we get them, why we get them, and what happens after them. So by law, students should be assessed in all areas related to their suspected disability. And that means things relating to their health, vision, hearing, social, emotional, communication, motor abilities, anything else you can think of. So you may be wondering, I know my child has a disability, but what will an assessment provide me? Well, an assessment is so critical for building an appropriate 504 plan or an IEP because it allows service providers to suggest accommodations, recommendations, and service delivery to make sure that your child is set up for success. So you may be wondering, when does an assessment take place? Well, there are kind of these two big times they happen. The first one is what we call an initial assessment, and this is done prior to any special education services being offered. So this typically means you've just moved to a new city or town, and maybe your child hasn't received special ed before, but there's been a change in health or something's missing where they may just need some extra support. The next time an assessment takes place is at least once every 3 years, and we call this a 3-year reevaluation. And this is just to make sure that all the services and recommendations are still appropriate for a child. And it's also a good time to use those assessments to add anything to the child's service delivery or even taken away if they don't need the support anymore. And then just remember, as parents and teachers, you can also request an evaluation at any time, especially if there has been a change in the student's health or disability, basically just something that may be impacting their functional performance. So next I'm going to give you a quick little overview of different kind of evaluations you may see being offered to your child. The first couple are vision-specific evaluations. So this includes your functional vision and learning media assessment, as well as an orientation and mobility assessment. A functional vision assessment is completed by a teacher of students with visual impairments, and this assessment you will learn what and how your child sees in their everyday life and across different environments. Within this assessment, you may also see a learning media assessment, CVI range, and/or an expanded core curriculum assessment. Your orientation and mobility assessment is just looking at how your child navigates different environments safely, efficiently, and independently. And then, of course, in addition to these vision-specific evaluations, many children receive other things from physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech, teacher of the deaf, psychologist, etc. Just keep in mind that sometimes assistive technology assessments fall through the cracks at schools, and it's never on purpose. It's often just because they don't have an in-house AT specialist, so they often have to go to outside organizations. So it's not the first thing that kind of pops into their head when they do assessments. Just make sure as a parent or caregiver that you really advocate for what your child needs. Rachel went over so many different devices, and I hope as she was explaining them and showing them, one or two of them really stuck out in your head about, and you were saying this would be amazing to have for my own child. And in order to acquire it or even trial it, you probably need some kind of assessment done. And this technology evaluation is so important because it gives recommendations around a variety of devices. And some examples are maybe communication devices, switches, software. And then just know that when we talk about our vision-specific devices, CCTV, magnifier, braille device, your child's TVI can justify the need and give specific recommendations in their own reports. But for any technology, make sure it is a team decision and you have everyone's input to make an appropriate purchase. So now you have a wonderful assessment completed and you have a list of recommendations and service delivery, but you don't have the piece of technology in your hand. So how do you get it? By law, school districts are responsible for purchasing any equipment that is listed in the IEP. But just know there are some other channels to receive funding or equipment from if you need it. The biggest one, at least for students who are legally blind, is using quota funds from APH. And these are federal funds to purchase a variety of not only technology, but just materials specific to students who are visually impaired. And many of the items Rachel listed earlier are available on these funds. Just make sure to check with your child's TVI. They are the one who can tell you if your child is eligible, and they can put those orders in. Each state has a commission for the blind, and these are wonderful because oftentimes you get assigned a caseworker. This is someone who can work with you and your child's team on a variety of different topics, including funding, signing up for different activities, and they're just a source of support for you. And then kind of the biggest one I think in my head is that many times districts are a little or a lot hesitant about buying some equipment, especially if it's more on the pricey side. So just know that most states have an assistive technology loan library. And what this means is you can borrow a piece of equipment for a certain amount of time. And this is wonderful because it allows the school district to take data, which all teachers love data, and they can justify the purchase. And finally, if needed, just know that there are many, many local charities and organizations around you that often will help with funding. Here in the state, we've had pretty good success with the Lions Club, but just make sure if you go through any of these ideas that you talk to your child's school and make sure you don't step on any toes along the way. So next, Rachel is going to give us a little glimpse into her classroom and talk about how one student uses his technology and why it's so important to have a variety of tools. So Rachel, take it away.
Thank you, Sam, for that really helpful and enlightening information about assessments and the assessment process and breaking that down in such a comprehensive way. All right, so I'm very excited for the opportunity to share this student snapshot. This fabulous young man is my student Jay, and he's 11. He's in the 5th grade going into 6th. And he's been at Perkins for about 8 years now. And we've had the pleasure, all of us in the Lower School and Yale Early Learning Center program have had the pleasure of watching him grow and progress over the years. I've known him for about 4 years now. And one of the ways that we've seen him just grow immensely has been in his use of technology. He has grown his Access technology toolbox. It's filled to the brim and still growing. And he's over the years tried many different types of technology, as Sam was talking about, and some were right for him and some weren't. But by going through that process, he's really built a great group of tools that he's learning that he can use when he needs to. So you can see the list of some of the items below, and on any given day in the classroom, he may be on the computer using JAWS and learning his function keys to access a word processing program on the computer and working on his excellent keyboarding skills on a standard QWERTY keyboard. He then may work on a worksheet using the CCTV to enlarge the worksheet and work on his handwriting skills using that CCTV. He may need to read something kind of quickly and know that he needs to just go to the shelf and grab a dome magnifier just to hold over something to make it larger for him. He loves using the iPad for educational purposes, but also playing games using the voiceover tools. He might use his smartwatch to set an alarm to tell him when he's got to get up and go to class. And he is a great Braille note taker user. I send him emails with his work. He emails me back. He uses it for editing and talking with his friends over email. He regularly uses his Victor Reader Stream for homework and recreation. And I just couldn't be more proud of this young man and how well he has learned to use his technology. And one of the things that I am most proud of is not just that he can use it, but that he has gained the self-determination, awareness of his own disability in a way that he can recognize when he needs to use technology and what's best for him at that time. And he can advocate for himself. I need this device. I need that device. And that's one of the things I'm most proud of, is that he advocates for himself. He is just awesome. And so now here's a great opportunity for Jay, in his own words, to talk a little bit about his technology use, in his own words. So here's Jay.
Hi, I use a combination of different technology. I use my note taker to check emails and to reply to them. I also use it to make documents. I use my iPhone. I use a combination of Siri voiceover and large text to read what's on the screen. If something is too small, I would turn voiceover on and it would read it to me. I use Siri to send text messages. I also use my computer. I use it to check Google Classroom. I use two softwares called JAWS and ZoomText. JAWS will speak to me. It will speak whatever is on the screen. And ZoomText, you can make this screen bigger with ZoomText. I also use the computer for surfing the internet. I use YouTube and Google with it too.
Thank you so much, Jay, for sharing all the different types of technology that you use on a daily basis. And thank you, Rachel, for sharing that. I think it's really wonderful to kind of see like what goes on in the classroom. And isn't Jay just the cutest little thing you've ever seen? It's great to see him kind of grow up through Perkins and definitely use a variety of different tools as he's gotten older as well. He's a great example of what happens not only on campus, but also in the public schools. We find a lot that students in the public schools use not just one device as well. They use a bunch of different devices depending on what activity they're doing. Jay here showed us what we would probably classify as academic technology, but just know that students who are using switches also use different types of switches for different activities throughout their days as well. So let's talk a little bit about how different areas of your child's visual impairment may impact what devices they would benefit from. The following are some areas that would be assessed in a functional vision learning media assessment and are general examples of how to choose a device. So these are all just I just said general, but just know that it's very student specific. So I hope this just kind of gets your brain going a little bit, but make sure you talk to your child's teachers to choose the correct device. But the first area I want to touch base on is kind of the biggest, is acuities. For a child who only needs a very minimal amount of enlargements, there are many low-tech options to make that magnification, such as a dome magnifier. For students with lower vision who may need a higher power magnification and good clarity, a CCTV may be their best option, or even a device with a larger screen, because as you increase magnification, the less material you can see at one time. For a communication device, a lower acuity may mean you need to make larger icons or pictures. And then if your child has little to no functional vision, they would probably benefit from tactile devices, and that means either Braille or even tactile symbols, and then devices with auditory output. So Rachel went over a bunch of these devices already, so definitely check back to those to see if any of them would make sense for your child. Maybe your own child is light sensitive, and people who are light sensitive often prefer the ability to dim the overall brightness on the device. And then some people say that an inverse contrast, which means a black background with white text, helps as well. There are a bunch of different color settings in devices nowadays, so it doesn't have to be black and white. It can be blue and yellow, black and green, whatever is most comfortable for your child. Scanning. So this is kind of a big area. Do they have a hard time scanning because something is too small or because it's too visually complex? Maybe if your child has CVI. So if scanning is a difficult area for your child, they actually may benefit from a smaller screen because this gives them less area to scan. Maybe it's just because the icons are too small. Maybe you just need to make them bigger so they can scan more appropriately. And then just so you know, when you look for a device, look for these types of things. You know, I think oftentimes we are kind of in this world that goes for brand names and what can I get my hands on right now. But when we talk about technology for our students, we really want to make sure that it has all the characteristics that your child needs. So brand names are great, but just know there are a bunch of other companies out there as well that do the same thing. And then as always, talk to your child's TVI and eye doctor to find out how these areas specifically relate to your child. So what's next? We kind of came up with these 3 A's, hoping it would help you remember what your rights are and also what the next steps are. The first one is acknowledge. And so the first thing you need to do is acknowledge not only that your child has a disability, but that they may also need some specialized equipment because of their disability. And this is often equipment not only for the academic curriculum, but all areas of the expanded core curriculum as well. The next one is advocate. You've seen a bunch of different devices and hopefully learned a lot. So I hope you have the right tools or at least a starting point to talk to your child's teachers so that you and they as a team can really advocate for what your child needs, especially regarding specialized equipment. And the last one is assess. In the school world, assessments drive instruction. They help create personalized recommendations and justify to schools why a piece of equipment needs to be purchased. Make sure your child gets assessed in all areas of their disability to make sure that they are set up for success.
Thank you again, Sam, for some really great things to think about. I love those, the 3 A's. And you know, in thinking about this presentation, we just like to leave you with some takeaways. You know, we've presented a lot of information, and I know that can be overwhelming. The world of special education and visual impairments is an immense one, and we hope that if you can leave this presentation with a few takeaways, it might help you to better navigate it in the future. So just some things to think about. First of all, you are not alone. There is a dedicated team that's determined to help you and support you and your child to find the resources, the services, the technology that your child needs to succeed in his or her education. So just know that. Also, assessments, as Sam did such a wonderful job explaining, is a really important process, and it's really necessary that they be conducted to help to determine that technology that's really best for your child. And so in thinking again about those 3 A's, acknowledge, advocate, and assess, is going to be really important in making that process happen to help your child get the technology that's best for them. And again, as we've said many times, there is a massive array of technology that's out there, and it can be used in a variety of ways, from academic to recreational to maximizing independence. And just know that it's out there to help with access and support, and it's really amazing what is out there today, and we hope we've done our jobs in sharing some of that with you and a little bit about the process that goes into exploring that technology. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys. Next, we have our site of resources. Feel free to check those out. And each state has specific resources as well. So reach out to your child's team that Rachel said is determined to get your child set up for success. And thank you for joining us today.